All right, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Game is a Game podcast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Took a little break this weekend, but we're going to come back with a lot of content this week. Here, as always, with Eric. We're going to go ahead and break down the East and then look out for our West breakdown of what's going on. So let's talk about the marquee series for everybody. A series a lot of people saying is the NBA Finals again. Game one, Nets Bucks. Nets end up winning. I think they only end up winning by, they actually won by what, 10, 15? I have to see what the final score is. But the game wasn't particularly close, which is surprising because James Harden went out in the first quarter. So I'll kick it off to you. What'd you see in that game? Anything that stood out to you in particular?
I think that Chris Middleton was probably watching the game with me. Was what stood out to me.
Yeah, man. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm a big fan of the Zach Lowe podcast. I'm a big fan of a lot of NBA podcasts, and I listen to it. And every year they tell me Chris Middleton is underrated. People need to respect him. He's an all-star. He's definitely an all-star lock. Like, I'm just tired of seeing these piss poor performances from him when it matters. Every time it's a money game, he don't end up doing nothing. Like, he was attacking Duncan Robinson and Joe Harris. He outplayed him this game. He did.
Yeah,
Couldn't tell me he's better than him.
And I said that before the series. I said that I think a lot of this series lies on Chris Middleton and how he plays. Is he going to be an all-star?
You did say that.
To be a regular player. And I've noticed sometimes Chris Middleton rises to the occasion when they're not playing teams that are not that good. He looks like a dominant player. But it seems like when they play the good teams, he reverts back to being the player that doesn't get any credit. And I think that's why a lot of people don't respect him as an elite player. I think that he can be an elite player, but he has to show up. I think that the matchups, I think the matchups favor him. To me, he's a good offensive player. He's a great offensive player, and he needs to be aggressive. I think he took 23 shots last game. He just has to play better. I think that he's very capable, but he just has to do it.
At this point, he's 29 years old. I just looked it up right now. So if he hasn't done it, I don't know if he's going to do it by now. He's in the prime of his career. You can't let Joe Harris outplay you.
And like I said, the biggest thing is the matchup. It's not like he's going against, Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam.
Yeah, you got to win that matchup.
You got to win this. He has to win that matchup. He has to continue to be aggressive, but he has to make shots. You got to win that matchup. Joe Harris, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. I know we're going to talk about the Harden injury, but defensively, you have to look at those matchups. And as Chris Middleton, you got to know, okay, man, I'm an elite offensive player. I'm an all-star. You guys, they can't guard me, and I have to be ultra aggressive. I got to make shots to put pressure on their defense.
Yeah, to me, it was just a big lost opportunity for the Bucks. As soon as James Harden went out, I think we both talked about it. I feel like James Harden is their best player. He's the one that makes them less of a one-on-one team and a team where the ball pops. I think that he's the quote-unquote head of the snake. So when he got hurt, I was just like, okay, this is a wrap. The Bucks got it. And, we talked about the disappointing play for Middleton. I was also disappointed in Giannis. They extensively had Blake Griffin guarding him one-on-one, and he just seemed really hesitant in attacking the rim. He settled for a lot of jumpers, a lot of floaters.
If you can remember, the only reason why I'll give Giannis a pass, if you can remember, I believe that was in that 2019 series, the 2019 series where the Celtics played the Bucks and the Bucks beat the Celtics in 5 in that gentleman's sweep. If you can remember game 1 where Boston won, Al Horford guarded Giannis for most of the game, and he played Giannis very well. So, and I think that kind of threw Giannis off a little bit, them putting Al Horford on him. So I think Giannis now, if he kind of expects that Blake Griffin matchup, so now I think he will probably do better as the series goes on. But I think them throwing Blake Griffin out at him as a little bit of a wrinkle that he probably wasn't prepared for or expecting. But I think once you put those bigger bodies on him, he takes a couple of games to adjust to that. So I look for him I think he will probably play better as the series goes on, especially if they continue to guard him with Blake Griffin.
Yeah, he has the height advantage. He was really hesitant to attack the rim. I don't know, maybe the effects of playing against the Heat and the way that they set up the wall against him. He's still thinking it's that series, and that might just be it. Sometimes it takes a while for you to switch your game plan, to switch your mindset from one series to the next. They always talk about this series setting you up well for the next one. And I don't think this one set him up for the next one, because this is just one where he should be rampaging at the rim. Blake Griffin is smaller than him. He has short arms. He should attack, 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 attack. I don't think KD as a help side defender should be something that deters him from going full throttle at the rim. So hopefully that's something that changes too. We talked about the Harden injury. He's not playing today's game. Today's game just kicked off, so it probably means that this is a serious injury. I was listening to the Pro Football Doc, and he was saying that it might just be Harden felt some tightness, and because he felt the tightness, as a precaution, they took him out. So maybe as a precaution, he's going to be fine. There's no new injury, and he's going to be able to play later on down the series. You just hold him out for a couple of games and massage him and then let him back in. So hopefully it's that, because I do want to see this team at full tilt. I don't want the injury bug to be what causes Brooklyn to lose, even though I picked them to lose.
Nobody feels bad for the Lakers.
Yeah, nobody feels bad. I was listening to Brian Windhorst's thing, and Tim Bontemps was just going on and ranting about, this could have been foreseen. I knew the Lakers weren't going to make it. The Lakers were hurt. I just think it's just as simple.
I people they can do this whole, Lakers aren't good, and they're missing Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis essentially missed the last 3 games. I mean, he played a little bit of the first half of Game 4, but he missed the last 3 games of the series. LeBron wasn't healthy. I think their smaller wing, the best defender they have is Alex Caruso. He wasn't out there. So they were clearly hurt. So I don't take none of that. I don't take none of that serious. When it comes to LeBron, there's obviously an agenda there that people have. I don't know what he's done to people, but there's obviously an agenda there. If this was any other team in the league, people would say, "Oh, they were hurt." Clearly, they're missing their second best player, and their best player is coming off a serious ankle injury.
Yeah.
And, he's not 100% healthy, but when it's LeBron doesn't get any excuse. So
yeah. So I think just going forward, if we're talking about the series, just adjustments that they can make, I do think that they need to try to figure out a way to get Brook Lopez more touches. Maybe have him stabilize the bench unit. Their bench units didn't really play well. It's not particularly surprising. Guys like Forbes, who made everything, versus Miami, really struggled. Brooklyn has some guy named James that I've watched a lot of Brooklyn this year, and he was in there taking a lot of shots, making a lot of plays, dominating versus the Bucks second unit. So I think that they're gonna have to figure out how to stabilize that. But again, we talked about his adjustments.
I think that if Middleton is not able to give that offensive punch, I think that those others, like you talked about Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday, they're going to have to step up and give a little bit more offensively. But I'm interested to see what Coach Bud does to get Brook Lopez some touches and get Drew Holiday more involved.
It looked like he was feasting in the post. He had a great time. He was scoring in the post pretty easily. So hopefully, I said last year versus the Heat when they got eliminated, he played really well in the post too, and I thought that they should have given him more touches. So hopefully that's something that they'll see and they look at, but they have to improve their defense. They couldn't stop them.
If Milwaukee goes on and they take a big hit and they lose this next game, and I mean, obviously, Game 3 is going to be, will be for their.
If they lose this next game, it's over. They're not going to beat them 4 or 5 times.
If they lose Game 2,
they're not beating them 4 or 5 times. They're not going to beat them 4 or 5 times. I don't think so. I think there's too many games that it's too much of an opportunity. For Kyrie, for all of his knocks that I've knocked him this year, he's played. This is the best shooting season of his career. And
I think, of course, when you put Kyrie in that secondary role, and then you're not asking him to be the catalyst and the team's best player. Obviously, he's going to do what he does. That's the kind
So I don't think that they could beat them 4 out of 5 times. I just think that KD would get hot, Kyrie would get hot, And I just don't think if they lose 2-0, I don't want to say this is a front running team because it's a team that just got put together, but I just the way that they score the ball, I just don't see them beating them 4 out of 5 times.
I just think that'll be a nothing. Obviously, Kevin Durant, in my opinion, in my estimation, is the second best player in the league, and Kyrie's a special player. But I just think if Milwaukee was to lose this series without Harden, I think it will be a major letdown and a major way for them.
Yeah, because they're kind of stuck with this roster, and this is the roster that they have, and if they can't beat them without Harden, then shit. Yeah, so this is big. This game tonight is big. I think they definitely have to win it. They have to bring it home 2-2. And this goes back to their regular season. They kind of tricked off a lot of games towards the end, like they didn't need home court advantage. And I think that happens every NBA season. You get teams packing it in and acting like it doesn't matter. And then the playoffs come and it's just like, oh, having that home game 7, that matters.
No, definitely. And I mean, they kind of made their bed, so they have to sleep in it. But I think the Nets, if the Nets do win this series, I think they're going to put the rest of the playoff teams on notice that they mean business.
So I think that's a good segue to the next one. So the Philly Atlanta game, another game where I think Philly was done a disservice by having that weird start time, that 10 a.m. start time. Another series, a second series in a row where they've had that weird start time. But they end up losing to the Hawks. Trey Young had a great game. The first thing that stood out to me in that game was we talked about coaching. And I just don't understand what Doc Rivers was doing. Like they started off the game with Danny Green on him. You have Ben Simmons, who they've said is the defensive player of the year, who Doc has pumped up as defensive player of the year. You have Marquise Thibault, who they said is a defensive player in the year right in the waiting. Why do you have 35-year-old Danny Green chasing Trey Young around? Letting him get hot, letting him get started. He's obviously the head of the snake of the team. It's like they didn't watch the Knicks series at all. So in the second half, they were down 20 at half. The second half, they switch it. They have Ben Simmons on them. Ben Simmons picks up some cheap fouls, but you could tell the intensity and the size of Ben Simmons bothered him. And then they made sure it was either Ben Simmons or Thibault on a majority of the game. And I think going forward, I think the Sixers have to lean into what they are. They're a team that's going to be built defensively. Like their offensive shooting nights are not always going to be good. So I think that's one adjustment definitely I hope to see going forward is that they have either Ben Simmons or Thibault on them. I think they're just wasting time. And it's unfair to Danny Green at this point in his career to ask him at 35 years old to chase around Trey Young. But I thought he played great and they shot it well.
Let me ask you a question though, because a lot of the people that are, non-believers of Philly, a lot of people that don't see Philly as this contender. I think one of the questions that people always pose is their lack of a true wing, an elite wing player that can get you buckets from anywhere on the floor and can get you buckets in isolation. Do you think that is an issue for Philly in this series?
No, I don't think it's an issue. I think they can get enough of it by committee. Seth Curry, and Tobias Harris. I think they can get enough of the scoring by committee.
Because you look at Philly's kind of like an old school kind of team. The way that
I hear people say that, but I think that they can get enough offensively. They hung their hat defensively. They were the number one defense this year, and they let the Hawks get 73 points in the first half.
And obviously the way the Hawks shot in that game, that's, you would expect that to be an anomaly on the road. Yeah. You don't expect them to come out and shoot like that again in game 2. If they did, that would be kind of crazy. We have seen crazier things. Dallas won 3 games on the road and lost 3 at home. So
so it's just like I think more than
anything, but I don't expect that to happen.
Yeah, I think anything is just defense. They got to defend better, and that starts with Trey Young. He's the head of the snake, and they were trapping, and I think that leads to open 3-point shots to other guys. I think Ben Simmons has to take that challenge. They've been running the mouth about he's defensive player of the year, best defender 1 through 5. Okay, if you take Trey Young out the game, you're gonna win the series. If Trey Young has a bad shooting series, there's no way the other guys, even as big of a fan of Bogdan as I am, I've talked to you about Collins, where I think that he's kind of fool's gold. But even the fan of I am of the rest of their team, you're not going to beat them if Trey Young isn't playing well. So I think Ben Simmons should take that challenge. I'm taking this guy out.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely.
we'll end up seeing what happens. But yeah. So I was surprised with that.
I think Embiid has to come out and be a little bit more dominant and more assertive in game 2, because I think
He looked good. He looked good. It makes me think that.
So
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully, he that injury is not having a major effect on him in this series, and we'll see how the series continues to progress. But I think that obviously game 2 is a big game for Philly. They can't let them come out and shoot like that again, and Philly has to come to play. You don't want to go down 2-0 back to Atlanta.
Yeah, so it'll be really interesting to see what happens as far as adjustments. I wouldn't even think about starting Tybal. Atlanta's not really a great defensive team. I think that they're going to be able to get buckets regardless. Tybal actually shot it well that game. He's not. I think that the person who would push back against that would say you can't have Tybal and Simmons out on the floor at the same time because that's not enough shooting. But Tybal is different than Simmons because he will actually shoot. He doesn't make it, but he's willing to shoot it, unlike Ben Simmons. So I think that
the first part, you got to be willing to shoot.
Yeah, he's willing to shoot it. So I think that you definitely should start out that, and they need to lean into what their strength is. They're a defensive team with a beast down in the perimeter. If Tybal misses the shots, oh well, that's offensive rebounding opportunities that you can't. Yeah. You have to take him out the game. So I think they have to play to their strength. So yeah, that's pretty much it on the East. Now, it's pretty. I like this. The semis is always my favorite time of the playoffs to me, because that's when you usually have your best teams, and it's still a lot of basketball. When you get to the semis, it's only 4 teams, 2 games. But the semis is always interesting to me, and I'm interested to see what happens. I know a lot of people say this is the final, so we'll see. This is a clear chance for Giannis. I ended going back with the Bucks. Like, he's taking a lot of shit. A lot of people say, oh, he shouldn't have been the MVP, 2-time MVP. MVP and defensive player in the year in the same year, which has only been done, I think, like 3 or 4 times. So he is decorated like a Mount Rushmore NBA player. And this is the lane couldn't be clearer.
I said that this is the opportunity for him and the Bucks as a whole, the coach, everyone. This is an opportunity for them to kind of wash away all of those sins that they had in the past, all those mishaps that they've had. And if they don't take advantage of that opportunity, I think that Giannis will feel it more going forward in his career, because he's getting close to the point that people will start saying that he's not that kind of player. I think the next step that people are going to say that he's not that kind of player and he's overrated. I think that's the next step. He's coming close to that, where people will say, especially if Harden doesn't play this year. I think that if Harden was to come back and be healthy and play well, people will kind of consider it a wash, because the Nets are the expected favorite team to win. But now that Harden's down, I think that most people will look and say, okay, the teams are even. Like, okay, they have Kyrie and Durant, but you guys have Drew Holiday, you guys have Chris Middleton, you guys have Brook Lopez, PJ Tucker, you have all the, you have everything. You have everything you need. So this series is even. So this is an opportunity for him to kind of make good on, all of the accolades that he's received. But like I said, if Harden comes back and doesn't play much in this series and they lose, it's just, I think that that's the next step that people are going to start to say that he's overrated.
Yeah, this is their team. They don't have any picks. They traded all their picks to the Pelicans for Holiday. So this is their team, and this is their best chance. I mean, you get one title, you're cemented. You see what the way that they talk about Dirk in reverence. I don't think that they would talk about him like that if he didn't have that title in Dallas. So this is his opportunity. And we said we're recording this while the game, they're down 9 already. So I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
We'll see. It's a lot of basketball left to be played. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah. So okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and wrap there, East. All that content that we promised you last week, we're going to get it to you this week. Team by team breakdowns, all that good stuff. But definitely hit subscribe, leave comments. Thank you for rocking us. The Game is a Game podcast. We'll be out.